Okay, and with that, I believe we are now live. Oh, there we go. Hi, everyone. Welcome. I know we're a day early with the KSAT connections. That's because I just had to get this interview going, and schedules just line up when they line up, and we make it happen and make it work where we can. So today I am speaking to a spiritual coach, Jeffrey Nicholson. Thank you so much for joining.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm so excited.
Thank you. Yeah, I know you have a busy life and you've been so connected to the outdoors. I know you had a bit of a meditation this morning, so I'm happy you can squeeze us in.
Again, thanks for having me. I always have time for the great outdoors and time with you.
Awesome. And I'm not sure if I'm just having a bit of an audio issue, but hey, we'll just keep going with it. All right. So spirituality is a bit interesting at some point, especially for people who um, hardships, and it's like, how can I be spiritual when these things are happening to me? So can you talk a little bit about why spirituality is so important?
Oh gosh, spirituality. Now, first off, when we say things are happening to us, we got to remember most of the times things are happening for us. And that's kind of the mindset of a spiritual mindset. And really keeping your mind open is are things happening as punishment for me, to me? What's going on here? And with that conscious mindset, quite possibly things are happening for us to shift our mindset, how we think and perceive things, and how we feel about the world around us, how we respond to people around us. So what is spirituality? That's a really open and tough question to ask. I think it's open-ended, but I mean, to me, spirituality is a lifestyle. It's connectedness to the world around me, and it's also keeping my mind open to the unknown and to always challenge my thoughts as they're incoming. Is this appropriate? Is this wholesome? Is this loving? Is this kind? Uh, does it benefit the world around me, or is it singular? Is it just I? And I truly think spirituality is the art of thinking beyond yourself.
Hmm. That sounds really tough.
It
It
is.
sounds really tough to, our entire lives, especially in the culture that we're in, is to think about ourselves and ourselves only. But really, it's more than just thinking about ourselves. It's thinking about ourselves and how we connect to the greater world. I know Diana, our counselor, talked about this on Self Compassion Sunday yesterday about who else? Who else in the world is experiencing these challenges and these struggles? And so it's really more than just our struggle. It's really an entire struggle of an entire community.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
When we realize other people are sharing these same experiences, we don't feel so alone and isolated. Therefore, we're more open to talk about these experiences and learn different ways of coping and finding a way through the storm.
Mhm. So how does spirituality help us?
Well, I know I can speak for myself. Spirituality really helps me feel focused and excited for every day. I'm always waking up with this anticipation that I'm going to learn something new. I'm going to develop new strategies and new perspectives and possibly change the tune on how I speak or how I view something. I always wake up wanting to better myself and feeling a great connection to my community members, the land I live on, and the entire universe around me, and not so much in a religious sense, but I do believe in a God and a higher power, and I feel that's a driving force for me to always want to be better and serve my highest and greatest good and uplift those around me. And spirituality somewhere is in that gray area. Again, it's so hard to pinpoint, but for me, again, it's a lifestyle.
Mhm. So what would the difference be then for you for spirituality versus religion? And I feel like a lot of people like either mix them up or say that they're synonymous with each other. What's your opinion on that?
Well, it's a tough question. I come across this one all the time, and it's like walking on eggshells, especially this time. Like, this is a time where people are clinging on to their religion. They're clinging on to their faith or any kind of spirituality. That may be the one thing getting them by. So I'm going to tread very carefully on this. But religion for me, religion and spirituality blend very close. They're interchangeable. And I think the dividing aspects of them, religion is more informed, it's in text, it's been instructed for you, it's been created for you. And I find spirituality is more open-ended. Spirituality doesn't really, doesn't provide so much of a box and straightforward, this is what it is. Spirituality is, this is, or is it? It always leaves that open-endedness to continue growing. And for example, a tree doesn't just grow and then it stays a tree because, well, it's a tree and that's just what it is. No, the tree grows and then it sheds its leaves and it goes through many, many, many cycles. But when it dies, is it just dead? No, the tree comes down to the ground, it becomes soil, it gives nutrients to new trees coming around, and it's endless, it's open-ended. You'll see patterns all over, like the tree of life, the flower of Venus, the way it goes, everything's just constant and eternal. And to me, that's the one difference with spirituality. It's so much more open-ended, rich, and it's nothing negative toward religion. And I find religion very beautiful and powerful. And I do, again, I find them very close. They coincide with one another. And I think to have spirituality, you have to get your feet wet in religion. And to be religious, you have to get your feet wet in some form of spirituality. Again, they're so interchangeable. Mm-hmm. Hopefully you answered that well.
Definitely. And so how is spirituality important for healing? And I know that you've had some experiences too where they haven't been so great, but spirituality really pulled you through.
Well, there's been some sexual trauma, mental health struggles, just to lightly brush on, and some heavy stuff. I came through chaotic times, and sometimes I gotta scratch my head and look around me because I mean, the present is so wonderful right now, and I'm very happy. But the one thing that got me through that chaos and landed me here was a sense of spirituality, my faith in knowing that I'm so well guided. Some days I can't explain how magical the world is, and if you really have an open heart and an open mind, there's a force out there that's willing to guide you and show you love and lay instruction for you. And for me, by having that open mind to the unknown, somehow I was guided to constantly better myself, to learn about myself. And sometimes it's not only about us, but it's also about forgiving others, letting go of the past and these experiences. Sometimes I found in my own trauma, I would constantly rewrite the same story. This happened to me, I'm hurting, this is what I went through. And I constantly would show this book. I had a really neat mentor tell me one day, as I was showing her this imaginary book and telling her about it, she said, Jeffrey, write a new story. She said, this book it's ended, you've lived it. She said, stop reading it, stop breaking your heart, you can write a new story now. And at first it offended me because I thought, what, I can't honor my experiences? What does she mean? Doesn't she know how much pain this caused? But when I thought about it, again, open-mindedness, I've really thought about it. I thought, okay, what does she see in me that I can't? Form of spirituality, open-mindedness. And then I thought, wow, I'm really staying focused on this because I'm still angry. There's something I haven't let go of or released. I'm obsessing over it, when in turn, I have a loving partner, a healthy home, stability, groundedness, and very supportive friends around me. I don't need to look at that story anymore. I can start writing a new one. And so that friend really helped me shift my perspective But if I didn't have an open mind or any sense of spirituality or the feeling that other forces outside of myself can help, can direct me, I still might be lost.
How did you listen? Because it sounded like listening was the first step to healing from you, because you didn't always have this amazing partner. You didn't always have this safe place. You didn't always have healthy friends all around you. Sometimes there was a couple that you had to search out for. But how did you listen when you were in that really negative space after you've experienced that trauma?
Well, I'm quite a stubborn guy, and I'm going to tell you, there's two things that help me listen, but I'm also surprised because I'm very stubborn, and at that time, I was very chaotic, and if I was going to do something, I was going to do it through and through. And so for me to actually slow down and have my head cleared and for me to focus and listen, it was two things. First was my disability, which I call an ability because it's great to not hear, go to bed, have some silence, and mute people. No offense, no offense. It's been a gift for me. But I find this has really helped me to focus, to listen to people, to pay attention, to lip read. But without the hearing, it also has me look at people's mannerisms, look at their body posture, and you can really see the way they carry themselves. And so I was taught to listen. I was taught to pay attention. So that's one. The other thing.
It's almost like, sorry to just stop before you go into your second one, it's almost like you learned how to listen in a different way. Not just to the sounds or what you wanted to hear, but listening to almost the whole picture.
Absolutely. Listen, but observe and sounds weird, but also smell. What's the environment like? Because all your senses are picking up on things that really shape how you feel, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
So what was the second part? Yeah, I kind of cut you off. Sorry.
That second thing is I really had to fall hard. I experienced quite a bit of grief and went through some chaos that really hit me hard, and to the point where I had no choice but to lean on my faith. I went from a place where I was in so much grief, but I didn't know who to turn to. I felt without. And I really think that's where my faith reignited. I don't think I ever lost it. But it reignited for me where I had no choice but to put my hands together and say, hello, this is me, and I'm listening. Please guide me. Again, I was never brought up overly religious, and it's no way bashing. It's just, this is something that resonates for everyone. Put your hands together, pray, just ask and listen. Clear the clutter in your head, because whether you're religious or not, have a denomination, everyone has that inner knowing and guidance that can truly guide them through the darkest of times. Just be willing to let go, clear the clutter in your mind, and listen.
Mm-hmm. And so, how does spirituality really help with things like general stress or anxiety or even this healing path? How does spirituality come into play with all this?
Well, again, spirituality is a very, very large web, and with that, I call it lifestyle. It's spirituality is not wearing the crystals and having a Buddha statue and looking the part. Spirituality is looking within yourself and learning to balance your ego and really observe yourself in a neutral stance. Observe the world around you from a neutral viewpoint. Spirituality is also lifestyle, like what you're eating. Are you getting enough sleep? How are you dressing yourself? How are you carrying yourself? How are you dealing with the thoughts inside your mind? Are you letting go of things like anger, grief, guilt, shame, the biggest killers, by the way? Mm-hmm. So spirituality is a collective of all these things to make sure that you're running at an optimal level so you can respond to things with kindness and open mind and from a true heart space.
Mm-hmm. That sounds nice and all, but with the current climate that we have, and even on social media and what we're coming across in our day to day, it's hard to really find our heart space. It's hard to listen. It's hard to, find that peace within yourself, to move past the guilt and shame when we've got chaos essentially happening around us, so much uncertainty. And so I'm curious, it's one thing to find our heart space, but it's another thing to manage that with daily expectations of becoming a teacher to your kids, living with someone who or living in an unsafe situation, having to be now like a janitor and like taking on all these roles inside the home. How do you manage that?
Honestly, I'm a big fan of really honoring where we're at in the moment. It can be so hard to have expectations for ourselves. And I think it's so natural of us to always want to have control. Humanity loves control in some aspect. And right now, none of us have control. It's very rare to come by. And so we're in fight or flight mode. We're panicked. You're very right. But I think it's so important that we don't go, well, I should be this. I should be taking care of my kids better or teaching them or managing better. No, you should be exactly where you are now. And whether that's scared, frightful, nervous, you're worrying about lack of income, someone losing a job. What are you going to do with kids? How are you going to teach them? Am I going to pay my bills? All those things. But we can't repress that and dishonor it. We really just have to sit and marinate it. This is what's going on right now. I accept that. But we also have to remember that we are resourceful and there's always help incoming. We just have to be open-minded enough to see what that is. Sometimes when we panic and try to have too much control, we only are looking for a few certain things because we think this is what's going to help us, when help is just at the back door where we're not facing. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. And one thing you mentioned to me as well, just prior to us starting, is, everything that we're seeing on social media isn't necessarily the most positive thing in the world. And how so much, in a way, has been taken away from us, but you think that we've actually been given a great gift with having these things taken away. Can you talk about that?
I I generally talk about that really quietly. Again, trying to honor where people are at. A lot of people are horrified right now. They're angry, they're scared, and it's so beyond the virus right now. There's Black Lives Matter that's happening. There's trans rights that we're fighting for. There's so much that is being inflamed. It's insane. I tell you, humanity right now needs to really look at the bigger picture, what's going on, what's happening for us. We've had our luxuries taken away, getting our hair done, getting our nails done, going to the movie theater, being able to escape our homes. Now we're being forced to face ourselves, face our home, face deep within our shell, our family unit, where we come from, who we are, what we've created for ourselves. Now we're facing, do I need to change my partner? Do I need to change who I am? Do I need to forgive my mom and dad? Have I been holding on to anger so long? It seems that this whole pandemic and everything that's gone on has really put us on a timeout and given us things to think about. All of our distractions have been taken away. And so it's crunch time right now.
Mm-hmm.
A good way to navigate through this is to minimize the news, minimize all that negativity that they're pumping into us. It's crazy. We can focus on our family, our loved ones, ourselves, and that's as simple as open communication, sitting with a tea and deep diving, talking about things you normally keep repressed because you keep yourself distracted. You're too busy. So it's such a profound time. And again, it's really based on perspective. As long as you can see what's happening for us and the shifts that it's instilling in all of us, and it's very unique shifts. We all carry something very differently on our journey. Our mindsets are in different places right now. We're all not going to cope the same. We're not going to feel the same. But I'm going to say this one thing. I truly believe this as being a collective longing. Everything changing right now is something we've always deeply wanted inside, for all lives to truly matter. I can't stand when people say that because all lives aren't mattering right now. it's what we truly want and it's our end goal. But all lives don't matter until Black Lives Matter, transgender lives matter, homosexual lives matter, every single color, the human race, that's what we are. We came here to uplift and to live as one global conscious, one unit. And if you don't believe that, look how the trees work, look how the animals work. Everything works wholesomely to feed each other, to keep each other grounded, and everything keeps going round and creating life. So I really truly think that this is giving us a time out to really look at what our values are and where our energy is going, what we've created.
How can we practice empathy and compassion when we ourselves are filled with stress and anxiety?
For me, I totally understand that. I know when I don't get sleep, I am a lot less empathetic and compassionate, and then I become short. And when I'm short with people, I feel anxious and depressive because I'm normally not short, and then I'm sad that I've given people that energy. So, with the mindset of spirituality, there's self-responsibility. Manage your energy well, because when you are focusing on getting your sleep, eating well, raw foods, fruits and veggies, drinking your water, grounding yourself, exercising, stretch, move. Remember, when we sit like this, we're holding all that energy in, we're making ourselves sick and anxious and depressed. We gotta stretch, we gotta move, we gotta deep breathe. So I think the basics, I always call them my basics. Are you eating? Are you drinking? How are you sleeping? A lot of people that know me know that I always ask those things, as silly as it sounds, because when our car is not running properly, we're not going to get very far. So if we start with those basics, it does become a little easier to have that empathy and have that compassion, because we're filling our bucket. So we can share some of that water now. Just don't let yourself run dry.
That's a really beautiful image. I like that one about sharing the water in your bucket, but you can't share the water in your bucket if you don't have any water to share.
Absolutely. That's been a hard one for me to learn, Alicia. I'm very much a guy that just runs with my bucket. It's like, you want water? Here you go. You need water? Here you go. And I ran into times where I wasn't paying attention to my own. I thought, nah, I can run dry for a while. I can handle it. But long term, it takes me so much longer to fill my bucket up again and find that water that I gave away. And in turn, I'm actually not helping people around me because they're seeing me tired, sad, famished, because I'm not getting enough water. So I've learned that it's okay to say no. And best saying ever, no is a full sentence. No is a full sentence. Don't explain yourself. You don't have to. If you don't want to do something, no is a full sentence. Don't carry guilt or shame or sadness. No is so important that is setting a boundary. No, I have to sleep. No, I need to eat better food. I'm not eating takeout, etc., etc. But it's so empowering. Never have to explain yourself, to take care of yourself, to take that extra rest. No, I don't want to go out tonight. No, I don't want to watch the news. No, I don't want to listen to this conversation. We need to remember that is okay, to have our boundaries and respect ourselves. Right now, I think the world will benefit from us kind of going within, really healing ourselves, purging, talking to someone. Then we take it another layer, step next. We start taking care of our families, taking care of what's going in the home, empowering ourselves. Once that's healed and we're good to go, let's start looking to our neighbors. And then from our neighbors, so let's start volunteering, taking care of our community. And we just slowly add those responsibilities. We can only do that if we really go within ourselves and just start purging and addressing the issues that we're holding on to, and some issues we may not be aware of. And that's why the open-mindedness aspect is so important. Someone comes to me and says, Jeff, you're angry all the time. It's not, well, screw you, I'm not angry. No. Oh, they perceive me as angry. So I'm going to think about it, maybe go on a hike, and where's my anger coming from? Well, I'm agitated because I'm scared because I can't pay my bills. Okay, so I need to find resources. I need to get grounded. I need to talk to someone and reach out for help. If I do that, maybe my anger is going to lessen, you know? Self-responsibility. How we feel and what we're giving out also affects our brothers and sisters, our neighbors, and our community member. So the more people that are truly working within, keeping grounded, keeping healthy as possible, and finding those little achievable ways to create that for themselves, you're not only helping yourself, you're helping the whole community. You're helping the globe.
I think back to your tree analogy, and that, you are the trunk of the tree, and you reaching out and helping and supporting people are your branches, and that your branches can't be stable if you don't have a solid trunk and root system.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
The root symbolize keeping groundedness, and you need that trunk. That's your overall support, stability. That's what's bringing in the water and the nutrients in order to give, in order to reach out, provide shade and shelter. Mm-hmm. Great analogy.
So how do we create a more spiritual space in our home?
Well, I love the elements. I love earth tones. A spiritual space, you'll find plants, you'll hear water flowing, light and airy colors. It's important to declutter. The more clutter we see, the more cluttered our minds get. The power of keeping a clean space, blank countertops, more minimal the better. And again, I love earth tones. The spiritual space isn't just about religious figurines or crystals and burning sage. Mind you, energy clearing is a big part of it. I think we're sitting in our homes, we're releasing our anger, we're crying, we're bickering. We got to clear that out. I always suggest opening your windows, air your house out. I use white sage, I use lavender, and the smoke is also antibacterial, antiviral. It's scientifically cleaning your air. But I tell you, when you do that, you will feel such an uplift in energy in your home. It's very cleansing, it's inviting, it's calming. Give it a try. And I have to tell you, a lot of these spiritual practices I've done never have been because I'm so informed with a specific practice or a religion or denomination. A lot of these things came to me naturally because it felt right. And that's one thing I advise, if it truly feels right to you, if it truly resonates with you, and it's not harming yourself or anyone, do it. If it makes you feel good, if you feel calm and grounded, I always make jokes. People like to joke about crystals and that. And I tell them, if it's a placebo effect and it's working for me, I'm gonna wear this crystal because it helps me feel good. I feel grounded, and if all of it is placebo, what's the harm? So again, back to spiritual space, beyond crystals and statues, but really invite some plants, some bright, airy colors. Open your windows, use some sage, and burn some herbs to help clear your space energetically. Things like that. Lots of brightness. Don't keep it so dark. Oh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the plants that you mentioned, like moving more towards like succulents, for example, where you don't have to water them every single day, although you've got like some gorgeous, what are they, orchid? Is that what they're called? No.
Absolutely, yeah. This is an orchid here,
Yeah.
one of my favorites.
Oh, we're gonna go for a ride. Okay.
Let's see.
Hang on tight, everyone.
There we go.
Wow. And that's a very delicate flower.
Lots
of
you've
even got more there.
There's been studies that have shown the way plants will draw in old stagnant energy, and they actually release new energy from their leaves. Much like humans do, we draw a lot of our energy from our souls, and we're releasing from our crown. So it's so interesting that when you walk in a room, you can, oh, it feels tense in here. Oh, there's been some crying. It's funny how we can feel that energy as soon as we walk in a room, even when we close our eyes. So it's nice seeing spirituality and science slowly coming together. They're slowly connecting the dots. But again, these practices, it's truly how you feel. If it's making you feel happy, relieved, go for it.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Yeah, I feel like it's, so important to like connect with nature in different ways. And like, even if it's just like a small little flower, that brings you out of yourself and into the present space, into what's currently happening. I know at the center, even a lot of what you said is actually all about trauma informed spaces. So, more natural pictures or actual plants in your space is actually very trauma informed. And so it's interesting too to see kind of these two things come together about spiritual space, trauma informed space, and different ways that we can connect with that. And plants are they're a love and hate for some people, right? Like it's sometimes you get it right and sometimes you just get it so wrong. And I know we've had a bush out in front of our house that just went boom. It just did not take. But there's something really grounding about working on the soil and getting your hands dug into the earth and really like holding that, checking the moisture. No, it's not a word we're not supposed to use, but checking how damp the soil is and like really like being with that, feeling all the random little ants that happen to crawl on you while you're out there. Is really quite a grounding experience. It really brings you into the present. You're using your five senses. You're using your smell. You're using your touch. You're using the listening and sight and everything. It's a really great way to bring you into that present moment.
Definitely a multi-sensory experience, and I find it most beneficial because I feel a lot of us are up in our heads all the time. We have very mental energy, we're overstimulated. Technology is advancing quicker than our bodies can keep. No wonder we're anxious, and as a result we get depressed. So I find gardening and activities like that really help to draw you out of your headspace and bring you back into your body, back into your heart center, where you can really feel and see clearly. Again, like you mentioned, all the senses. You're working with your hands, you're feeling the moisture. Oops, we did it again. And it brings you back into your body. So activities like that, yoga, stretching, even mindfulness activities where you're closing your eyes and you're visualizing your feet, you're wiggling your feet, you're actually feeling your whole foot, drawing your energy and focus there, and work your way up to your shin, up to your thighs, up to your hips, really bringing yourself back into your body. Often we're so stuck in our heads where our body can get really tight, we can have poor circulation and start to feel really sick. But when we come down and take notice of these things, we can start to take better care of ourselves.
Definitely. Jeff, if people have more questions or want to get connected to you, how could they do so?
You know what? I'm quite old fashioned. I will always take an email, always respond to my emails. Jeffrey Nicholson 444 at gmail.com. That's Jeffrey with a J, Jeffrey, Nicholson, Nicholson 444, my lucky numbers, at gmail.com. Or you can find me on Facebook, Jeffrey Nicholson. Drop me a line. I'm always free to chat.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Thank you so much, Jeff, for popping in and talking about this. And if you're looking for support through the Kawartha Sexual Assault Center, our 24-hour texting is being launched. So that is 705 710 5234, along with our 24-hour call line at 1-866-298-7778. Our web chat supports are still available as well. We are here for you. We are listening. And I hope that you learned something today and something that you can bring into your heart space or even into your physical space. So thank you everyone so much for joining us today. And thank you, Jeff.
Well, thanks so much for having me. And take care, everyone. Take care of yourselves and each other and do good things.
Thanks. Bye.